Welcome back, Raider Nation, to Raider Persa. Now, your host, Raider Mack and Raider King.
Raiders, 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 Raiders. In your screen, on your left, on your right, in between. Raiders.
That's right, baby. We're going to talk about Pete, the coach. Coach Pete, man.
Oh, coach.
What guy's got plenty of wisdom behind his years of expertise. You know, he's come up through the years, a defensive coordinator to a coach, and learning from his misfalls and coming out here, bringing and changing the culture of the Raiders. That's the whole goal of him in this season and the future going on forward, man. And that's what we want to see out of Pete, bringing in that wisdom again and making these players mesh, vibing with Chip to make sure that offense runs as smoothly as possible. And I'm looking forward to it, man. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. This is like the first time we've had like a very well established coach, depending on how you feel about John
Yeah,
Gruden.
right.
Um, but yeah, it's all those years. He's been on the ups, he's been on the downs, he's
Yeah,
been with, really, really good coaches. Yeah,
yeah,
his track record is really good once he's on his own. You can't deny the USC dynasty days, all of
right,
that. He was killing it in college. He had rivalries, he had championships.
right.
He had players drafted really high. I think he's had I think it was Matt Leinart was drafted, the first round pick.
Dude, yeah. I
So
mean,
he's had
yeah,
yeah, he's had some really good
yeah,
players. He has some really good years, really good championships. And then when he went to the Seahawks, I
yeah,
remember that day. It was like, nobody really knew. I think he had everybody was counting that stint he did before USC. And at that time,
hmm,
there wasn't a good track record of college,
yeah,
football, college coaches coming to the NFL.
right.
And so, but then yeah, he blew it up with the Seahawks. A lot of it is the Legion of Boom, and then finding Russell Wilson, in the fourth round.
Yeah,
And nobody knew what he was going to do. Him being like a short stature quarterback. The magic wasn't that time. At that time the quarterbacks were prototypes. 6'5" cannon
yeah,
stick in the pocket.
right, right.
So he started making magic with his legs.
Yeah,
So that changed everything, and that's what I like. He's been with the young guys, he's been with older guys, he's been with guys who have that ego, he has been with guys who have that personality. That Legion of Boom defense
yeah,
has got some characters on that team. And
right.
it's I'm pretty sure it was a challenge, and every single one of them they love Pete. So it's pretty exciting to see. You kind of feel his experience when you hear him talk about the players, when you hear other players talk about him, and that's pretty cool. That's like I've never had that experience with any of our coaches.
True, true,
I
true. No,
like that. Hmm.
you're right. I mean, right. He went to the Jets. He coached the Jets, and I don't think he did too well there. And then he went to the
Hmm.
Patriots, and the Patriots, I think he had a little bit of success going to the playoffs, and
Yeah,
coming out 500. But that was like Parcells' team, and that was
yeah,
kind of like that same.
right.
He had that big old shadow that he had to work under, right?
Hmm.
So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
So and they had Brewski on that team. They had Bledsoe
Hmm.
on that team. That was before Tom Brady, of
Hmm.
course. So the team
Yep.
was pretty decent, and he was. I don't
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
a lot of people say that he wasn't given a fair chance there, and then he goes into USC after that, where it was a program that was doing really bad, and I guess he learned his lesson from the NFL
Right.
and
Right.
reinvented himself to bring USC back. I mean, and led to Heisman
Exactly.
like Reggie, the running back. I forgot his went to the
Reggie
Saints.
Bush.
Reggie Bush,
Reggie
man.
Bush.
Carson
Yeah.
Palmer was
Yeah.
on that USC team as well.
Carson
From
Palmer. Yeah.
and a part of his legacy there, right? I mean, he was there for
Yeah,
I
and I'm
think
sure
eight
they had a
seasons.
lot of they had a lot of other players
Yeah,
like linebackers, corners,
right.
receivers that we can't think of right now.
Troy Polamalu.
Running backs for
Troy
sure. Yeah,
Polamalu's USC,
yeah.
bro.
Well, Troy, yeah. So definitely,
Yeah,
a lot of the problems with these coaches that come from these
yeah.
coach trees is like they try to be the exact same person. That's why the
True,
Bill Belichick
true.
tree hasn't really worked.
Yeah,
Because everybody tries to do the Patriot way, and it's different. Like it wasn't just about Bill Belichick; he had the quarterback.
yeah,
And that's what it comes down to. Same thing with Pete. Pete Carroll was able to establish his what he wanted to do with the Seahawks because he got the quarterback and he started winning right off the top. And
that's
if you
true.
could win early or gain respect early,
Yeah,
you can do that. Because look at us, AP. Everybody respected AP. The
yeah,
team loved AP,
yeah.
but the winning wasn't there. And you see
Right.
what happened. He couldn't really fix the culture. But if we were still winning the second year, our culture would have been changing and changing. Not to say it would have been like a Pete Carroll culture, but
Right.
at least it would have been like a winning, playing hard culture.
But I mean, the
So yeah, I
culture,
mean,
when it comes to the culture, it's almost changed overnight, man. You know what I mean? The way he
yeah. Oh
brings it.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's like the moment Spike Tech and Pete got into the building, it was like almost immediately like the interviews, the way they responded,
right.
the how they kept everything like, they weren't like overestimating them, or they're like, hey,
Yeah.
we're here to work, we're gonna find the best players, we're gonna do this right.
Right.
This is the first time they've we were like they didn't overspend for somebody, or made a questionable move. Like, yeah, I mean, there's some of the players we wanted to keep, but it made sense why we let them go.
Yeah.
And when you look about it now, it's like, will we have had that opportunity to get Geno Smith that extension if we paid to keep our guys? Because we replaced them with like 10 cents on the dollar what they're making.
Yeah.
So if we got like three linebackers for what
Right. Right.
what's his name is making,
Explain. Yeah.
so Splain's making. So it's like
Yeah. For
these
real.
these are not just cheap people. These people
Yeah.
know what they're trying to build. Like I love Spillane. We like, I mean, how much we talked about him last
Yeah.
season, but
Yeah.
he was 29 hitting
Yeah.
30. We got a couple 30-year-old linebackers. Look what they're at. They're at the 2 to 3
Now we
million
have
range.
depth, though. Now we have depth,
Yeah,
right?
and now we got depth. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then last year we really only had two people. And
Exactly.
once Diablo went out, it was only
Yeah.
Spillane, no matter who
Yeah.
they
So you
put
have to
out
rely
there.
on Snowden.
Exactly, exactly. So it was different, but yeah, I mean, and then Chip Kelly just seems like a sponge. Like, he's like, I'm gonna work with what I got, and I'm just gonna change it,
Right.
and I'm gonna do with what we do. And but Chip Kelly always wanted to run. Uh, Pete Carroll loves to run, so I
Yeah.
feel like we're not gonna have any issues on that part.
Right.
And it just seems like he is the right coach for what we wanted to do for this quick change. Because 2 3 years, man, that's what we gave him. I don't know how much more he
Yeah.
honestly has either. But you're like, this is a quick change. He put it in the right path. We got our quarterback.
Yeah.
We're getting pieces. We're getting depth. Of course, there's pieces like corners that we want to fix and safety,
Yeah.
but things don't get fixed overnight. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, we could spend a
Exactly.
lot of money and get somebody. What if he doesn't pan out now? Or our cap sheet, our cap book is not as good. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I love the decisions, and I love the way we're going. And then the whole situation with the Seahawks, man, it was just, it
Right.
was between him and Russell Wilson, and Russell Wilson just fell off. And
He
I
turned
mean,
Kanye.
we're looking at it
Not
now,
not so hard, but
like,
almost.
yeah, yeah, and we're looking at it now, like it seemed like Pete Carroll was the right choice.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Wilson, as soon as he left out of his system,
Exactly.
went
I mean,
downhill.
think about it. Ben Johnson still has to prove himself, right? I mean, yeah, he was a
Hmm.
genius
Yeah,
with the Lions,
right.
but this is a
So
team
was
effort. This is a whole
so was our
organization that
last
has to bring
coach
it.
before AP.
There you go. Exactly. Exactly. That's a good point because
McDucklets, yeah.
yeah, I mean, shit sticks. I mean, he came in. I mean, he went to Denver and everybody saw what he did. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he
He
trashed.
fucking trashed it and did whatever the fuck he
Yeah,
did there. And
yeah.
then nobody wanted him. Nobody wanted him. Nobody
No,
was happy
nobody.
with him coming
Yeah.
here.
Oh
And
yeah.
so he came in and did the exact same fucking thing.
Exact
So
same thing. Yeah.
but Ben
Yep.
Johnson, I mean, there was still a lot of uncertainties if he were to come here to the Raiders. And then now Pete Carroll,
Exactly.
you at least know that if he may be on the short end of his years coaching, right, because of what happened in
Yeah.
Seattle. In Seattle, like
Yeah.
he went, 13 seasons, I don't know, something like that, 10 seasons,
I mean, he
and
changed
he
that
made
whole
the
program
playoffs. Yeah,
around.
he changed the whole
Hmm.
program. He made it playoffs
Hmm.
and maybe missed the last 5 seasons, on 500
Yeah.
records or on the cusp, that kind of thing. But that comes down also
Yeah.
to the organization, right? He had 9
Yeah.
GMs as well
And the
in those
players.
10
Yeah.
years. You know what I mean? So, yeah,
Hmm.
exactly. And the players, so we had
Yeah.
Wilson, and you got to let him go. And then they tell him, like about a season later, they tell him to go do office
Yeah,
work.
he has to go too,
So
and
he's
that's
forced
after
to
he
do
did really
office
good
work.
with Geno Smith.
Yeah.
That was crazy because he did really good with Geno, and they still let him go.
Yeah, no, well, that's what
Man.
I'm saying, man. The it's not, you can't hold it on him. What happened in Seattle, at
Hmm.
least the last 5, maybe even 3 years, there,
Yeah.
because it also has to do with the ownership. You've seen how they treated him towards the last year, anyway. So he's
Yeah.
like, fuck this, I want to be on the field.
Right.
He still has it,
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
I'm
Yeah.
glad that
And
he
I don't know
came out
if.
here.
Oh yeah, man, I'm happy. I mean, I don't know if you saw his like the exit interview with the
Mm.
Seahawks, the coaching one.
Yeah.
Like, dude looked like he was about to cry. Like he was like, I got so much more left in my tank, and this was like seeing him at
Yeah.
69. You know,
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
like, I
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
got so much more
Yep.
to give,
Yep.
and like he was super passionate about coaching, and like the closest we got to that passion was John Gruden. John Gruden, say what we say about him, that
Yep.
dude was super passionate about football. Like he lived and breathed it, a little bit too much, where it was hurting our players with the training, with the practice.
Who's this again?
So Gruden.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Gruden was overworking us
Yeah.
throughout the
Overwork.
practice. It'd be like week 15, and they're still doing like the full blast training and
Yeah.
everything. So, we worn out. So Chip Kelly's like I mean Chip Kelly, Pete Carroll's is like a mixture of everything. He
Yeah.
has that passion, he has that strategic, he knows how to work the clock. You're not gonna have any 2 minute
Right.
warning
Right. Right.
issue.
Yeah.
That man's gonna be on top of his game. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Game
It's like I'm
management. That
pretty
was an issue
sure
last year,
exactly
right?
game management. Exactly. That was AP's issue,
Yeah. Yeah.
And like AP did the right thing. Like he
Yeah.
brought people around, but he couldn't like still put it together. He kept on
Right.
asking them. It was at some point that they were like, "What do you feel?" Like I think I remember Marvin Lewis was like, "Well, you got to go with your gut feeling. Like I could tell you what to do all day, but
Yeah.
when you're a coach, you got to have that
You,
feeling."
you gotta have
And
that
so
sixth sense. Yeah.
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 Exactly. You know how I felt about AP. I wanted to keep him. I
Hmm.
was one of them pushing to keep him, but everything that Brady said he wanted in the coach, or how
Right.
how
Right.
established how the organization should be ran. We're seeing it firsthand, the difference. It
Yeah.
would not be like this with AP. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? Like,
Right.
I probably, because if we kept AP, we would have kept our GM. I don't see our GM drafting
Genty.
Genty. I could
Yeah.
see him moving up for a core. I could see him drafting Shador Sanders. And all we're hearing now
Yeah.
is that Shador Sanders might not even make it to the Cleveland's team
Yeah. Cleveland's team. That's
roster.
crazy. Yeah. That's
So
crazy.
it's like what position we would have been,
Yeah.
because that guy's not known for drafting running backs high, and he likes to do a running backs by committee. The old GM.
Okay. Yeah.
So
What's his name?
we
I
did
forgot
not
his name.
know. Yeah, former Chargers GM
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and so you never know what we would have done. Who we would have gone. We probably would have never gotten Geno Smith, because I feel like the reason we got Geno Smith is because Pete Carroll has that connection. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
who was going to trade for Geno Smith? I'm pretty sure somebody would have been not giving him that money. And I think because of Pete Carroll, it's like, hey, you want to play for me? Or maybe Geno Smith would have re-signed with the Seahawks, because he would have been like, I ain't got no other choice. I like Seattle.
Well,
But
you,
he was like,
you
oh,
you
my boy
heard that
Pete Carroll's in
you heard that
Vegas.
Tom Brady stepped in to get away from Sam Darnold, right? So
Yeah,
when he
yeah.
stepped in and
Which
said,
I
we
think is a
don't want to
great
start. Yeah,
choice.
exactly. So when you get
Yeah.
season ain't shit, man.
Yeah, exactly, bro. Like, yeah, and they're practically making the same thing.
Yeah.
It's and we're in a whole different thing. The Seahawks already have an established or reputation. We're trying to build ours.
Right.
So it's like we need a quarterback like Geno Smith. Like that dude's down to earth. That dude says, I play football and I go home and I stay home. Like that's what I do.
Yeah.
So
No, and
somebody like that, yeah.
I see that Pete is learns from his mistakes. He's willing to learn from the people
Hmm.
around him. And if Chip Kelly's
Hmm.
the same way, making his plays around the player, not necessarily
Yeah,
what his
exactly.
playbook dictates what the player should be doing, bro. I
Yeah.
mean, then we've got a
It's-
ball of ideas over here, just a bunch of heads
yeah,
with
man.
crazy ideas that'll probably mesh and go
Oh yeah.
well, and that's how I think this will turn out.
It's a
Hopefully for that.
cohesive group of three. Chip,
Exactly,
Spytek, four, because Patrick
Patrick
Graham,
Graham.
he's
Yeah,
there asking Pete, like, hey,
right,
what do you think about our corners? How do you
right,
think I should do this?
right.
Like, everybody's hand in hand, like,
Yeah,
doing this. And I mean, like, and that's the other thing, like, Pete's relationship with the players and the coaching and the management is out of this world.
right.
Like Gruden had that too. I think Gruden had the respect of the players, but he didn't have the love of the players like Pete has.
Yeah, yeah,
And then the
yeah.
Raiders
I know.
organization
Yeah.
loved Gruden, so he matched with management. That was never a problem. And then Gruden also matched well with the fans.
Yeah.
We loved him. We loved him. We
Hell yeah,
loved
we love those
the
mugs, man.
Chucky.
He
Yeah,
just
the
personified
taking
the Raider
rent.
image. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? So that's why,
exactly,
for sure,
exactly,
for sure,
exactly.
Chuck is the man, bro. When it comes to that, but
Yeah,
when it comes to
to
like
that.
now, I think
Yeah.
You know, like when he came in 2020 and 2021 and all that, or was it 2019? I can't remember. But the point is, when he came in, you definitely felt like things weren't going necessarily all that well with Carr. I mean, you know, shit like that. So with Gruden, and then the emails happen, which is fucking the worst thing ever.
Crazy.
We know the NFL likes to shit on us, but that was like, you know.
Yeah, they definitely were aiming for him. So
seriously, man, that was like straight up swiping the election type shit.
Exactly. And in the end, he should have never done it too. He was like, especially in the NFL, bro. It's like 85, 90% predominantly non-white. So it's like, come on, bro.
I mean, makes no sense. It's just to push it on an email is the dumbest fucking thing ever. So
exactly. But now we got somebody different. Yeah. Now we got somebody smart.
Or somebody rooted from the Bay, you know, somebody who knows the Raider image or just necessarily the Raider personality, the fan base. You know what I mean? That takes root in California.
Yeah.
You know, that plays a part, man, because I feel like he understands that, right? He knows what
he knows the Raiders.
The legacy is, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's like, man, I grew up as a Niners fan because I was close to there, but it was like, but I knew the Raiders. I knew, like, when they come in town, like the black, silver and black, like, I knew. Yeah. Like, I was a fan of them too, but I was just more of a Niners fan because I was right there. But, like, he knows about the Raiders. He knows about the legacy. He knows about all of this. So, you know, and he was around when we were hitting people in the mouth. Like, when people going up for a catch, we're going, like, with a rip shot.
Yeah.
You know, they're going for a fumble, you know, the 2 fingers in the butt. You know, they do all of that. They are playing around.
Man, when it comes to Pete, though, man, he's got that energy. The reason why, he's an athlete himself, dude. Dude played basketball, all kinds of crazy shit. I'm like, you know, I want to be like that at 73. There's no way if I'm still sitting in the chair, but, you know, I got to get my ass off this goddamn chair. But, you know, I hope I get back like that. Seriously.
Yeah, I want to frog splash one of my players without hurting my back.
At 73 or 70, whatever the hell, man. But that's still
it's in the sevens.
Like, whoa, bro.
Yeah, like, whoa, wow.
I definitely want to see this guy succeed, man. I definitely want to compare him to John Madden. I want to see him get carried on the shoulders of the players, man, just like back in the days. You know, so bring back that Raider legacy, man. And tell us what you guys think. Tell us what you guys want to see out of Pete. What do you like about Pete?
Raiders.
Is he too old? I don't think so. Let us know your thoughts in the comments.
Right age. 70 is a new 30.
70 is a new 30. Damn right. Raider. Persa down.